Hello and welcome to this week's Women Who Vagabond episode. If you've been tuning in to other episodes in the series, I've been interviewing women who are traveling solo or adventuring or otherwise doing inspiring things that I think you should know about. And I'm really excited to welcome for a second time my guest today, Adeena, who is the author of a new book called First We Ate Your Wife. And we've been trying to connect for a little while, so I'm really glad that this week we'll be able to chat. And I'm going to let her introduce herself. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is that this will be the last episode of Women Who Vagabond for a little while. I have my hands full this month with a project with Mujeres Fuertes, my empowerment project here in Costa Rica, so I will not be doing any more interviews this month, and we'll see what we do in May. So welcome to...
Hi.
Hi! How are you?
I'm very well. Hopefully this time is better than the last one. Nice to see you
Yes,
again, Toby.
good to see you again. I can hear you perfectly, so that's really exciting.
We're starting off with a win at least. Yes.
So I mean, just to maybe start over, since I didn't get to save our first interview, tell me where you are right now and what you're up to.
So currently I am in Portugal in the south, and I am really just enjoying life over here. Things are opening up, the world's coming back to life, which is fantastic. So I've had enough of my laptop. Writing a book took a lot of my energy, and so I've just started working at a surf shop,
That sounds
and enjoying life.
that sounds great. Where in the south of Portugal are
In
you?
Lagos in Portugal, so right down in the Algarve. Yeah.
I've been wanting to go back ever since I was there a few years ago, and I think at some point I'll have to do that. Just like go live in a surf town for a little bit in Portugal and enjoy life.
I'm
That sounds
assuming
perfect.
you've got great surf exactly where you are. Am I incorrect?
We do. We have great surfing in Costa Rica, but there's something about Portugal that calls me back. Like, I know I want to spend more time there.
Yes. No, it's a great place, and this for me feels like home. I don't know what it is. You can travel the whole world, but for some reason this place kind of spelled home to me. So I'm settling here for a while. We'll see how that goes and see if settling is even a thing.
And what other places have you called home? Because this is not the first place that you've lived.
Well, I am from South Africa, so that was home for many years. And after that, I started on a little 3-month trip, which spanned over a decade. And I've lived in London, I've lived in Australia, I've lived in the Netherlands, done a fair amount of time in New Zealand and in Guernsey. And actually, most of my time has been spent in the ocean, and that's not really a country, so you can't exactly call it home, but it has been home. Always felt like home, even though there's no people there, so it's a bit of a bizarre place to call home. Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by the concept of home because I was nomadic for a lot of years and called a lot of different places home. So I'm curious how you would define home. Like what does a place need for you to feel like home?
Well, I think probably similar to you, when you're living in a backpack, home is anywhere your backpack is. I also travel with a giant teddy bear. We've been separated due to Corona, and so I've always said that home is where my teddy bear is. But that's not really what home is. I think home is that just a feeling that you have, kind of that peaceful, quiet. It's not quite zen. I don't know what you would call it, but it's just that chilled out experience of feeling like you fit into a place and having good people around you. And I think community is a thing that most makes a home.
Definitely. And that feeling maybe of calm and a feeling like, oh, okay, I can just take a deep breath and settle in here.
Exactly that. And I think that's probably the same as you. You're in Costa Rica, right?
I'm in Costa Rica. I've been based here more or less for the last few years, and And it's absolutely, for me, it always comes back to community. Like the reason I've been here so long, the reason I'm so happy to stay here is that I found great community and I found people that I connect with and spaces that feel good to me, where I feel like I can sort of root down and recharge. And I wonder if this was similar for you. Being here was a big factor in being able to sit down and write my book. So I'm curious where you were when you wrote your book and what factors played a role in that.
I think, well, the first time I tried to write this book was actually in 2016, and I had almost finished sailing around the world, and just suddenly I went, no, I need a home. I need to settle. So it took me 5 flights to get back to South Africa, but when I got there, I sat down and I wrote the first version of the story. It's a totally different book to the one I wrote now. But I wrote it on my computer. I edited it in a cave on the side of a mountain because I'm not very good at this computer thing. And then I've rewritten it in the Atlantic Ocean and rewritten it in the Pacific Ocean. And there's been places where you just feel this need to write. And I'm sure you experience the same thing. Sitting down to write a book, it sounds like it's easy. It's just telling a story and something that's already happened, so you don't even have to come up with a plot. But it's writing a nonfiction book is one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. And it's still not perfect. It will never be perfect. I think the hardest thing about it is one day traveling is probably like a year of normal life, because you're just meeting people and experiencing things, and it's all the emotions and everything goes into that. So it's much more difficult a journey than I was expecting.
Sure, and I feel like that's always the challenge, isn't it? It's not having enough material because there's an excess, there's an abundance of stories. It's deciding what to leave out and what to include that can be one of the biggest challenges when we're writing nonfiction. And of course it will never be perfect. I think that's beside the point. It's our stories aren't perfect either, so why would our writing be? And what are some of the core themes of your book?
Well,
Like what comes up over and over again?
I think the thing is, firstly, the fact that I've learned that you'll always have enough and you'll always get through things and you're stronger than you think you are. So those things were amazing lessons that you have to learn and relearn, because every time you think you're prepared for something and you've got everything in order, you go out and something totally unexpected happens. And whether it's in the middle of the ocean with something going wrong, or on a bicycle trip, or those super sketchy hitchhiking moments where you go, I knew I shouldn't have got into this car. Why did I do it? But I think the thing that's part of the reason I wanted to write this book is to show how much strength humans have. I mean, I'm just an average person, but problems will always come up in life, and you've got to kind of just work your way around them and learn how to deal with it. And so some of the topics in this book are how strong people are. And yes, it's my story, but this is a story of tons of people, because my path was filled with beautiful people. And also a story about how, believing in yourself, believing in God, believing in whatever can carry you through so much. And also how the simple life is the good life. Like, we don't need a lot to be happy. Even the things with adversities, all our best times in life are the ones that are preceded by some negative event or something that was totally unplanned.
Do you have any strategies or any maybe advice for people who haven't done a lot of traveling, and that uncertainty or that like fear of unexpected problems coming up is something that really keeps them from going out there? Like, what are some ways that you cope with that? What are ways that you suggest to other people who maybe don't have as much practice?
Okay, so when I started, obviously I'd never done anything like this. I started traveling with 10 friends or 9 other friends. And, it was simple because I had my people around me and they planned where we were going, where we were sleeping, what was happening. But I think the real adventure started when I stepped out by myself. And so that's the first thing. Like, if you've got someone cool to travel with them. But if you're traveling by yourself, you are going to be able to meet so many more people and you can go where you want. You can change your plans whimsically like this. And so I think the first thing is that open up your mind. Don't have too much expectancy. If you're taking a flight somewhere, book accommodation for the first day, but don't plan your whole trip, because if you plan everything, you kind of know what's going to happen, and you're going to be meeting cool people. Even in these corona times, I mean, there are still people around and there is still adventures to be had. And yeah, if something scares you, unless it's like a psycho killer or something, you should probably say yes to it. Like, try the things that make you uncomfortable. I think that's a very important lesson that I had to learn. And yeah, I did quite a lot of time of just saying yes to almost everything that came across my path. And you're not prepared for it, but you learn to be prepared for it and you adapt very quickly. The other thing is, I've always worried about money. When you're traveling, everything costs. You need to eat, you need to sleep somewhere. But like I said earlier, that thing about always having enough is such a crucial thing to understand, because it's only money. And once you learn to be at peace with what's happening around you, you're not worried about it. You can always find a way of making more money, and you're probably only going to be in that place having that adventure once in your life. So do the things you want to do. I mean, be a little bit wise and maybe don't blow it all on cocaine or something like that, but really just do the things you want to do and feel like you're really living. Yeah.
And I'd love for you to speak more to what you said about strength and being stronger than you realize, and people being stronger than we realize generally. My theme with my book was solo female travel, and I created this interview series because there's so many amazing women out there traveling solo, and everyone has her own stories and perspectives and wisdom to share, and I wanted to amplify that. And so when it comes to strength and finding our strength, I think that's especially a really key theme for women, because we're not necessarily conditioned as children to sort of believe in our strength, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to know more of your thoughts on traveling solo as a woman and what it means as a woman traveling to sort of tap into your strength.
I think, yeah, there's always been this misbelief that you're not complete unless you've got a man standing next to you and, a husband, or that women are the weaker species, and that we can't do as much as guys. And I think part of me, I'm very stubborn, so part of me was trying to prove these things wrong. Growing up with 2 brothers, if they're climbing a tree, I'm going to climb a tree. But as a woman, I think it's not just about the physical strength. It's about, we are so strong up here, and we have this empathy and emotional intelligence that helps us learn how to deal with situations. I know when I've had really, really bad hitchhiking experiences, so much almost went wrong. But if you can just calm yourself down and use the gifts that we have. Some people are born strong, other people are born smart, some people just have stubbornness that can carry them through everything. So use what you have and go through it. And yeah, I think it gets better as we go. It's even learning to carry your stuff. Your bag feels like it gets lighter on your back. Or when I've started cycle touring, every time it's so difficult at the start, and it takes time for your muscles to grow and develop. But it's mostly here. It's adapting your mind to the situation and the circumstances and going, okay, actually, yeah, if I push a bit harder, or if I try, or if I focus on something else, I don't think about how much my butt is aching right now. And you can train yourself to get through anything. And I know, yeah, there were plenty of times where I was pretty sure that I was going to actually die in the middle of an ocean or whatever. And once I kind of accepted that I've lived such a good life and I'm not afraid of death or whatever, it didn't become fearful anymore. It became this thing where you go, actually, I'm a survivor. I can get through this. I'm going to do what I can. And if I can't, well, it was my time. So,
Mm.
um,
I feel, yeah, I resonate with so much of what you're sharing, and I'm also this is one of my superpowers. So I feel that like so often it's mental. What changes, like you're talking about cycling. I'm not a cyclist, but from the beginning of a cycling tour to the end, or I've done some distance walking from the beginning of a walking trip to the end. It's not like I really get physically stronger. It's just that, I adapt. And that's another one, humans are so adaptable and so flexible. And I think traveling is one of those things that make us actually realize how easily we can adapt to different situations and deal with things as they arise. I also really want to hear more about your experiences traveling by sea, because that's something that has always fascinated me and that's been a big part of your journey. So how did you start, and what are some of the things you love about it?
I think I've always had this natural draw to water, and I've never tried sailing before because every time I even used to get onto like a kayak, I would be throwing up because I got motion sick. But no, it was something that was always in my head. I was just fascinated by this idea that we can move with the wind and we can sail across oceans or across countries. And so the first time I tried sailing, I actually convinced a group of backpackers who are all still in my life to build this incredible raft from aluminium scraps and blue water barrel drums and an umbrella stand and some old fabric from a Brazilian boat. And we constructed this raft and tried to sail to Thailand. And it didn't go very well. We ended up shipwrecking, swimming for our lives, getting stuck on a deserted island, and having to be rescued. You know, these things happen when you don't know what you're doing. And again, we have the strength to get through them. Nobody died. It was fine. But it inspired me. And later, when I got an opportunity to get onto, I'm going to call it a real boat, and onto a sailing boat with some Americans, I was so curious about how it works, and all I wanted to know is what do you do and how do you do it? And I threw up more times than I can count for the first few days, but it was totally worth the experience because there's nothing quite like, yeah, just using the wind to navigate where you're going to and being able to go through it and do things that, in my mind, scientifically, it shouldn't work that way. But yeah, as you start to understand and get into this motion, it's really addictive. And yeah, after that first real sailing trip, when I sailed across the Indian Ocean, I thought that that was my one and only trip, but it turned into sailing across the Atlantic and then, yeah, through the Pacific. And it just became this kind of addiction that I had to have that salt all the time, salt on my skin, salt in my lungs, and just be in the middle of nowhere. Because when you're in the ocean, you have all this time on your hands and you really can focus your thoughts. It's like extreme meditation. And you've got the stars above you, and it's like an infinite abyss of shooting things and planets and sometimes storms and amazing waves. And yeah, it's just an unexplainable experience that I feel like everyone should try, or most people should try at least once in their life.
Hmm. And practically speaking, if someone is resonating with what you're sharing and they want to try it, where would you start?
So there's a lot of sorry.
Maybe, yes.
Well, I know you're interested in it too. And like there are a lot of websites where people can find boats to crew on. But I think for me, what I don't like about websites is you're not meeting those people face to face. So you don't know really who they are. And yeah, you can do short trips, organized trips, that's fine. But kind of when you I'm going to call it hitchhiking on a boat or hopping on a boat with someone else, I really want to know who those people are because I want to be with people I'm comfortable with in the middle of an ocean. So um, the way I normally do it is if I'm wanting a boat, you can go down to a local marina and just start talking to people. And maybe they'll just be going out for an evening sail, or maybe they'll be going somewhere, or maybe they know people who are wanting to go to some place where you want to go to. Um, but yeah, just getting a bit of experience, first of all, is something good to have because I know there's all these hubs in the world where people kind of congregate to find passages on boats across oceans. But there's so much competition, and yeah, it just comes down to meeting the right people at the right time. But yeah, you have to be open to that, and you have to be in the right places
Yeah.
to go along and find those people.
I see that we have a question. Oh, this is a great question from someone who's tuning in, which I wanted to say thank you to everyone who's with us. What was the biggest life lesson you've learned that you'll carry with you going forward?
Oh, wow.
That's a big one. I'd say one of the biggest, because I'm sure you have a lot.
I think the first thing that I'm going to say is you can't die if you have travel insurance. That was no, but I don't. That used to be my motto, and I'm glad I've always had it. But no, I think the biggest life lessons, like I've already said, is you are stronger than you know, and you will always have enough. And I think those two things, if you've got them in your mind, you can go anywhere and you can do anything. Because yeah, whether you're surviving some jungle, surviving a long bus trip, or hiking, I don't know, a massive trail somewhere, yeah, if you remember that you're actually stronger than you think you are going to go much further than you think you can.
And we're pretty much out of time. I hope that we'll be able to have more conversations in the future. I'm hoping to turn this into a podcast, so I'd love to invite you back. But I'm concluding all of these chats by asking if you have any words of wisdom or advice or encouragement for women who are listening to you, feeling inspired by you, maybe wanting to have some of the experiences you've had and are afraid to begin or don't know where to begin, and what you would tell them.
I think the first thing I'm going to say is just start. You're never going to have the money you want. You're never going to have the time you want. You're never going to be in the physical shape you want. And there will always be something you need to do. So start it. Like whether it's booking a flight, it's hard now, or just going somewhere, but just do it. And don't overthink it because logistics are just something that's designed to get in your way. All of those small details fall into place, and don't be afraid because the world is full of awesome, incredible people, and the bad ones are very few and far between, and you can normally smell them a mile away. So just just step out there and do those things that you've dreamed on, because this life is short, and like, yeah, we need to adventure, we need to get outside, and we need to do great exploits.
And most importantly, if someone wants to get your book, where can they learn more about it?
So I am still waiting for the link to be sent back to me. So the final version was uploaded just on Monday, and so as soon as those links come through, they'll be shared on either my Facebook page for the book, which is called First We Ate Your Wife, or the Instagram page of the same thing. Otherwise, on my on my Instagram page, Barefoot Gypsy, or on my blog, Barefoot Gypsy. It's going to be everywhere. I'm very proud of the fact that I wrote a book. It's a big deal for me.
You
Like I
should
said, one
be.
of the biggest things I've ever done. So I will
No,
be
you
sharing
should
it
be
everywhere.
proud. You should be proud. It's a huge project and a huge accomplishment. I'm really excited to read it as soon as it's available. And yeah, so basically anywhere that Adeena is online, you'll be able to find her book. Thank you so much to everyone who's listening now and who will tune in later. And Adeena, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you, Toby. It's been great to chat to you properly. And yeah, see you again.
See
Bye.
you soon. Bye.